Hey everyone, welcome to Shunya One, episode 132. It's just me here today doing this, introducing you to a conversation me and Amit had with Ravish Agrawal, the co-founder and CEO of Able Jobs. Able Jobs is a very interesting platform. It's and the kind of stuff they're doing is very cool, especially in the space they're doing this in, right? We have a lot of job companies, we have a lot of job portals, we have a lot of platforms in training, we have a lot of certification sort of systems. We obviously have done a lot of ed tech, but Able Jobs is actually doing something which is true to its name. They're trying to train people in jobs which literally make you, field ready, or literally make you, I would say, ready for able enough to sort of get into the industry. And it's actually in a space which is very close to what I do, because they actually help people get trained in how to do sales. They help get people trained in, how to do like basic marketing. So a lot of interesting things which are sort of basic skills, different from what the kind of people which the kind of sort of training you get in a typical ed tech sort of platform about, building software or building something like that. And I think the conversation was really interesting. So I'm looking forward to having the conversation with Ravish, and let's jump into the show. Hi, Ravish. How's it going?
Hi, Shiladitya. Everything is good. How about you?
Fine as well. Thank you so much for making the time. And thanks so much for joining our show. Of course, we are keen to talk about a lot more about your, your startup, Able Jobs, the product. But of course, first things first, I hope everything's safe at your end. I hope you're keeping indoors. How are things in Bangalore?
Sure. Thank you for hosting me, by the way. I am in Bangalore indoors for almost, more than last 3 weeks. So everything is okay. I actually got COVID in February, but I'm still not sure. I have antibodies, but I'm still not sure with all the variations coming in, whether it will come like a software update or not. But yes, everything is fine. Family, friends is fine, and hopefully it stays the same.
That's good to know. That's so good to know. And
I think just for context, everybody, we're recording this on the 8th of May. So Bangalore's about to go under lockdown, so which is why the questions.
Yeah, I mean, even if this airs later, I really hope that the world has changed by then, but I somehow doubt it, given that we're just at probably the middle of second wave, and there might even be a third is what we're already.
Well, it's actually, no, this is not a political show. Let's continue.
But thanks, Ravish. I mean, the pandemic obviously has affected so many things, but I'm glad that we're able to do this on this call. And of course, not in our studio in Bombay where we usually do things. It's been more than a year. I think when I say this every time, I realize that we'll probably never do that again. Amit,
no,
how does that make you feel?
No, we will do that again. I am very much looking forward to doing that again. We spent 25 minutes fiddling around with mic settings right now.
Yes, that's true.
We need a studio, man. We really need a studio to go back to.
Great. So, Ravish, before, if you can give us like a background about how your sort of entrepreneurial journey started, and obviously what led to Able Jobs and the product. Maybe give everyone a little overview of what you do.
Sure. So again, the entrepreneurial journey started way back. So for all our listeners, I'm an IIT Kanpur graduate of 2016. When like so many people that come into IITs, I have been a person very studious, right? Very studious, but still not scoring a lot of marks. So I ended up in material sciences, which is metallurgy. I won't say it's one of the top branches at any IITs, but yeah, I landed up there, and that's where I started my journey in IIT Kanpur. Soon I realized that maybe that's not something that I want to do. So in a quest to figure out what I want to do, I started participating in the entrepreneurial ecosystem at the campus. So there were a couple of startups at the campus who started at campus, and I would sit with them. It's more like a garage environment at that time. You are in your hostel dorm rooms. We also had one room where we could go and do work and all of that. So that's where, that was my first, that's where I first learned the word entrepreneurship, what it is all about in my first semester. It did all feel, exciting to me, you're creating something and so on. In the next 2 years at IIT Kanpur, I ended up being a part of entrepreneurial ecosystem. I headed their entrepreneurship cell, which is the student body. And then in my last year, I decided to, do something on my own. At that time, one of my cousin was getting, was looking for a school admission in Delhi. I realized that, school admissions are pretty much a very complex process. Clearing IIT is easier than, getting a child into school. And that's where I learned that. So we picked up that problem. We, a couple of me and my batchmates, I was in, I think, fourth year, first semester. We picked up that problem. We said that, hey, let's try to solve it. And that's where we started kind of solving it. We did it for almost 18 months. I skipped my college placement because, I wanted to be on just one side. So I skipped my college placements, did it for almost 18 months, eventually did not work out. Again, there are various business and product reasons, but eventually I decided to move. I decided to move on. I joined Udacity, which happens to be an e-learning platform based out of Silicon Valley. They were setting up their India team. I joined very early as fourth person in their India team. Stayed for 2 years. Learn, how generally education works. I was pretty much excited about, how EdTech works in general. So with Udacity, I got a good 2-year, crash course. I ended up managing 60% of their consumer business in India. So that was pretty much, a very steep learning graph. And from there, a couple of my co-founders right now, we all knew each other from the last 6 years, but, during our time at Udacity, we came closer. We started with something where we were teaching BA, BBA and BCom people for their college semester examinations. So if you would have heard about IGNOU, Indira Gandhi National Open University, we were teaching for them. And because we realized, these people don't really have a good college community like we had back in our college. And these people, really struggle with the learning. So we thought, why not teach them for their college examinations? And from there, we came to know that most of these people actually struggle in getting a job. So once they get a BA or a BCom degree, they end up spending anywhere between 6 to 12 months to figure out, what kind of career to go after, how to go after, and so on. So we thought that if it's so much pressing to them, why not really help them, get a good career or get their first job? So that's where we started teaching them for their first job. I would go on phone calls and, teach them sales on phone. And that is where, the foundation of Able Jobs was laid. And, I will take you through the journey as we talk more. But yeah, nice. That has been, very quick snapshot of how my journey has been.
So what, I know you said you obviously went into the formal part of your education was metallurgy, but what actually did you, find as your passion? Are you the business guy? Are you the product person? Are you the tech person? Like in all of these roles you described, what is your bent? I'm curious to know, because Udacity, then Able Jobs now, what's been your personal sort of inclination to solve the problem? Most tech founders solve it with tech always. Sure, so what kind of founder are you, if I may ask?
Great. So I think that has been a question that I have also dabbled with, right? What's my core skill set like? When I spent my time at my last company, I realized that I like to do more of marketing or growth. So that's what I kind of do. I kind of enjoy doing. I know a decent bit of it. So that's how I identify myself as a marketing or a growth person.
Nice. And that's rare. Again, let me tell you, for most folks who we speak to and tech founders in Bangalore, that's actually rare, right? Because not everyone sort of comes with that first. They always think tech first. And that's why the question.
I am still tech first, but again, I will always, if what I enjoy, I don't enjoy maybe, writing a code. I might enjoy writing a copy. With that, that nice. Makes sure that, my product is well displayed in front of my audience.
Nice. So what was the V1 of Able Jobs as a platform or as a product? Like, what did you all you told us about what the end goal you were trying to solve for, but what was that V1 which you found as a gap in the market that didn't exist?
Got it. So the V1 was basically, me and my co-founders running the whole show on a phone. So
Wow.
what we used to do was we will train people on phone. So I will jump on a 30 to 45 minutes call with them and we'll teach them sales. So, and that is what my co-founder will also do. He will end up creating all of these courses on Google Sheets. We will send them Google Sheets. We will say, Google Docs, come and read this, and then I will take you through it. So that's what V1 looked like. Just
Wow.
adding the whole V2 was, taking all of this on WhatsApp, because you can just do a limited number of calls, right, every day. So at certain point of time, I would do 8 to 10 calls, and then I was pretty exhausted for the day, and I was like, hey, this cannot work this way. We need to figure out something else. So that's where we ended up taking this onto WhatsApp, and then my co-founder would answer almost 300 WhatsApp chats a day, teaching people,
Wow.
solving their doubts. So that's what mostly, our V1 looked like.
So
Okay. And yeah, sorry, go ahead, Amit.
no, it's just that's very, very manual, right? I mean, like it's while I understand the admirable ideas behind what was being done, you guys were like, okay, we'll do tech later. Let's just first figure out what we want to kind of do first. And that seems really unusual to me, right? Like most people approach this stuff product first.
Right. So I think, where we were coming from, we did not know what to build, right? Because again, we were all engineers, right? Engineers in the sense, so we did not know what the problem these people are facing when it comes to, learning for their first job. Where are they stuck? So the only way we could figure out is, directly, going and teaching them, so that we could understand, what are the problems that we are facing. That's where, we can build a product. Obviously, my co-founder also come from a Udacity background, so we knew how an ed product would look like. But we also thought that an ed product for an engineer would look very much different from someone who is graduating from a non-technical degree and might be learning for the first time on internet. Right. As an engineer, we get laptop in our first year, and we are very okay with, consuming content on the internet, long form, short form, and
Right.
spending energy. But maybe for these people who are again mobile first, so we don't know, how will they react to an online learning setup. So we thought, why not do it on our own, really understand what matters the most, and start building from there.
And in all of this, especially in contrast to what you're doing at Udacity, or what Udacity promises as a platform, right? And I think what people value there is that stamp of having done something at Udacity and a certification, and the end, they don't promise an outcome. They promise the qualification credentials, right? Did you think that was also a route you were going? Because, or was it not that? Was it like, what could those guys not get from Udacity, which you thought you could sort of channel?
Sure. So I think the way we are almost talking about two different problem statements. So I think the first at a very high level is, if you look at the evolution of vocational education across the world, not just in India, it has been primarily for the computer science background. So if you look at how Coursera, Udacity started, they all started with, a professor teaching computer science, and eventually, they ended up teaching a long range of courses, and their catalog evolved. And nobody really ended up solving it. And computer science, by the way, is very objective in nature, right? So you have a 1 or 0 kind of an answer broadly. But when you look at the jobs that we are going after, the jobs in sales and support, right, these are very subjective in nature, right? So I think, one of the, till now, nobody really picked these jobs because they thought that there is so much subjectivity that you can't really teach, right? So for example, if I tell you that, hey, I'm teaching for sales, the first reaction that comes to your mind is, how can you make someone a salesperson? Isn't it natural? So we realize it isn't natural, right? There are a couple of things that you can do. and you can take people, you can actually make people a great salesperson, or a great service person, and so on. So that's, I think that, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I mean, like, we were talking a little bit about the market that you are addressing when we started, right? And I think that that's something that maybe you that's something that if you could expand on that a little bit, right? Because again, I think the kinds of salespeople that you are looking at training over here is very different than what people in our space think of when they think of as salespeople, right? And the way that the qualifications are required and the way that the baseline is set is a very different kind of thing. So I mean, like, maybe
actually sales in general, I mean, now I'm a salesperson, so I know what I'm talking about now. But 5 years ago, I wouldn't know exactly how to teach sales either. I completely agree, by the way, Ravish. It's at first, to most people, it seems like a skill you can't teach. It's a skill you acquire through experience. So yeah, I'm also keen to understand what Amit was talking about. Like, what is that market?
Sure. So I think what Amit mentioned, it brings me to my second point. One is definitely, as I said, most of the edtechs haven't yet solved for, delivering such kind of skills. The second thing that Amit mentioned is about the type of audience that we are going after. So we are going after jobs between the salary range of 15 to 50,000 rupees per month. And if you look at these jobs, right, there is no way to prepare for these jobs today, right? If I want a humble 15 to 20,000 rupees of sales job, I don't have a book from which I can study. I don't have a Udacity, Coursera, any kind of course where I can go and learn. I don't have a YouTube tutorial, right? So practically there's nothing where I can go and, prepare myself for this job. And that's what we kind of brought us to this problem, that, hey, there's so much happening, obviously, on the tech side of things, but nobody has really looked at this side of things. And if you look at our country, right, we have been serving the world for almost now last 3 decades, right, with our IT revolution, our BPO revolution, and so on, right? We have been, whether it sounds good or bad, but we have been the back office of the world. This is the last two decades. And I think those are the kind of jobs that most of an average Indian aspires, right? They aspire to sit in a office with a multinational company, and work for one of these jobs that, that can help them earn a good living, and as well as also raise their socioeconomic status. So that's the kind of jobs that we are going after. People, jobs between 15 to 50,000 rupees of salary range. Sales and support, titles like inside sales, business development, customer support, operations, and so on. So that's where we are starting from here, and we believe that it's a very big gap right now, because, as I said, there is no alternate form which is solving it today.
I agree. When I talk to everybody who I know in the non-tech spaces, right, their number one challenge is manpower in this area, right? Which is basically, how do they hire their experienced but not extraordinarily high-end expensive talent, right? The operations part of it it seems to be the number one frustration with people. And I think that that it's great that you're looking at that as the market to address.
Exactly. So I think while you have really captured the problem very well from a company's point of view, I think a similar problem comes from a student point of view as well, right? If I need to take an operations job, the only thing I can do today is go to 100 interviews, right? Give every interview, either get rejected or get selected. And eventually during the process, I will figure out what to speak and what not to speak. And you see, that's really not something how the world should look like, right? Why should I go to 100 interviews before, I figure out which job I want to do, how do I want to do, and how should I get it?
Yeah, you should be prepared for an interview, prepared for a job for sure.
Exactly. So that's where we are building able jobs. We want, there are almost 20 million people coming out of this country from a non-engineering, non-medical degree every year. And I think, those people need a helping hand, and at Able Jobs, we envision that helping hand, that, and that career university, which can help them land into their first jobs very, very easily.
Wow. And, again, coming back to that V1, V2 version, like you were saying earlier, right? You guys approached this, you went to market knowing that this is that white space you want to solve for. What has been the, has there been any sort of, I would say, and this was what, 2 years ago or around that time? It's how long has it been for the journey?
By the way, just to give you, our company incorporated on 9th May, which is going to be tomorrow. So yes, that's approximately 2 years ago now.
Oh,
wow,
nice! Congratulations.
Lovely. So exactly, right. And in these 2 years, of course, so much has happened in the world. But in these 2 years, have you seen that? What's been the sort of growth story which you've seen? Obviously, from your V1 to your current V, whichever you are, and evolving. Like obviously, there's a tech product, there's an app, there's a whole lot. Where does it stand today? And what's the stats you could, if at all?
Sure. So again, when we went in, we were not really sure of, this is a gap that we are addressing and so on. We just went in with a simple idea. Hey, can I get that person a job? Because that person wants a job very, very, in a very, very desperate manner, in a lack of better word. Right. So that's how we went in. Eventually, we realized that, this is the gap. So it took us, anywhere between 6 months to 2 years to realize, hey, this is actually something, a problem worth solving, worth paying attention to that and spending your time on it. So that's how we went in. Over the course of 2 years, again, once we were answering 300 WhatsApp chats, we realized, hey, this cannot work this way again. So that is where we built an app. It was a very kind of very MVP-ish version of an app where we just hosted content so that we don't have to share content with people on WhatsApp. So we hosted that, and a lot of people came started coming onto that app, which were actually first time learners on internet, and we were really surprised by that, right? How have you not learned on internet before? But yes, that was it. That was where we were. That was the type of audience that we were actually able to get early on. And that's how our journey started over the last 2 years. I'm proud to say that we have more than 500,000 users on our platform. We have more than 60 plus courses across different kind of job roles.
Wow.
And we have almost, we are placing thousands of people. We have already placed thousands of people in the last 2 years. So that's what has, how we have evolved over time.
In this time, has this space itself also evolved? Have you seen, from the sound of it, you guys are, obviously catering to a massive, massive audience. You've built up a lot of content and courses. Your team has evolved. You are building this sort of, platform where people can come and learn. Is it like a two-sided marketplace where you're getting also creators and teachers to join you? Are you creating everything yourself? What is the sort of, how does it do the other edtech folks in the edtech space, which is obviously super hot? Have they picked up on this? It's been a crazy 2 years for edtech as well. So, I'm curious to know how hot your particular zone is.
Sure. So again, I think if you look at learning in general has picked over for the last 2 years, and this is one of the reasons has been that the offline alternatives were halted, right? So right. Yes, before this, you always had an offline alternative, right? If I want to learn something, I can go to the nearest institute, go to the nearest school, the nearest tuition, nearest coaching, whatever it is, right? But the last 2 years, all of these activities kind of halted, which would have, which gave education or edtech the push that it wanted, right? If this wouldn't have happened, right, we would have seen that gradually over the next 2-3 years, right, that would have definitely happened. And one of the very early trends we can see is today YouTube has become a go-to destination for a lot of Indians, right? From my time where I used to learn, complex algebraic equations for my IIT paper on YouTube, to my mother learning cooking on YouTube, right? Across age gaps, across skills. So people have started learning online, right? It's just a matter of time that we will see more focused platforms evolving around it, right? So think
Right.
it of it as what e-commerce used to look in 2006, 2007, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's where we are standing today when it comes to education in this country. Obviously, I am I am not sure whether the space is hot or not, because I have been in 2 years and I always found it hot, right? So I cannot say that, whether it's hot or not. But what I feel is that, as over the last 2 years, as a lot of college placements went for a toss, a lot of companies specifically in education only started hiring for massive sales team, right? All these things have picked up, right? So for example, before this, the college was responsible to get placements, but over the last 2 years, right, the college said, hey, the situation is very bad out there in the market and we can't get placements, you are on your own. That is where more people flocked to online learning platforms like us, in a hope that, we will get them a job, we will get them the skill that requires to get them a job, and so on. So I think that's one broader reason where the sector has picked up. The second one is obviously the employment opportunity, right? As a country now, we are creating a lot more high value jobs than what we were creating before, and it is visible across, different across different domains. The 10 years back, the number of engineers that this country was paid, for example, look at this way, the number of engineers that were paid greater than 50 lakh rupees 10 years back, and today the number of engineers paid 50 lakh rupees, is much greater, right?
It's entry level. Yeah.
I can feel that pain. I think
Exactly.
that's a topic for another podcast.
Exactly.
But yes, so I think that's what is happening on the non-technical space as well, right? A lot of companies are now building their sales team, and they are paying well, which is attracting a lot of people, right? BPOs have been traditionally paying, what's the minimum salary it could be, but with edtech coming into the picture, right, and they're paying good amount of salaries, because again, they are product companies. It makes sense for them to really spend some more in terms of employee benefits and care and all of that. So I think there's a
Right.
lot of domestic demand in terms of talent, which is going to increase, and startups are leading that front. We have all seen how SaaS has been in the last 2 years. So I think with SaaS increasing, you will see a lot more people requiring B2B business development folks who can sit in India and sell
Yeah.
in US, right? So all of these people, who got into edtech to start their sales career would eventually transition into a B2B sales as well.
Of
So
course.
I think that's how I see it. Both on the both sides, that the supply and demand both have picked up, and I think there's no better time than this to educate this country.
Nice. And you're talking about obviously the jobs part of it also, not just the upskilling and the training may be part of it. Is that something where you guys are also focusing? Are you looking at closing the loop and getting jobs, like obviously, making people hire from you as a verified source? Like, what is your now is the right time to also ask what's the revenue model, business model, given that you've been in this space for some time now?
Sure. So I think I was having this discussion with Amit earlier as well, right? For us, one of the important things is, are people getting jobs after doing our course? And that is one of the reasons, we do not actively hand out certificates on our platform, right? We feel that certificates are of no use, right? And it changes the motives of a learner. So we focus on, can we get people jobs after the course? So we end up closing the loop. We end up bringing students, we end up training students, we end up partnering with companies, we end up scheduling interviews of the students with companies, taking the feedback from companies. Hey, how do you think this person look like? Do you want us to change something in our course so that we can get talent that is suited according to your needs, and so on. So that's how the overall loop looks like. And talking about how does a business model looks like, there are a couple of facets to business model. We end up charging charging students for training and placements. We end up also charging companies for talent hiring, because we give them a talent which they cannot find anywhere else. So that's a business model on a broader 30,000 feet level.
Can we dig a little deeper into your antipathy to certificates? Why do you think that is such a destructive force, right? I mean, like, again, we spoke about
and
this.
Is it all certifications, or is it like school also, or is it just these additional courses?
I think it's school also, to be honest. And I may not, I'm not sure whether this is the right platform to say it or not. But I think, as if you look at education in our country, right, the incentives are never right aligned, right, either for the student or for the teachers or for the institution that matter as well. Right. And I think that is one reason, I feel that, hey, I want to be on the top of the class. It doesn't matter what I'm learning. Is there another way? Is there another way where, I can really achieve that? That is also a certification, right? Getting on the top of a class is a certification. Mm-hmm. So I do anything and everything to be on the top, on the top of that list. Meanwhile, obviously, I can learn, but and maybe 50% of the time I will learn, I will get the skills that is required. But 50% of the time, I may just end up, passing the system, or I may just end up, not absorbing what I was supposed to absorb, right? For example, at least in your formative years, right? In let's say classes between 6th to 12th, right? It's not something that is important. Can you really grasp that arithmetic in a way that could solve your life problem, right? We can always crib about, and as an engineer, and now that I am not an engineer, I can always crib about, come back and say, hey, I studied differential calculus, but am I using it today? Right. And I can build a case around it. But there are people who are using differential calculus. Ask a computer science engineer, he or she is using a differential calculus today. So yes, I generally tend to feel that certification tends to really I would say change the learning behavior of people, right? Because then they are more focused on the goal. That I will get a certificate, right? I think certificate should be just one part of the outcome. Now, this may sound very counterintuitive, because generally focusing on goal is something that is what is important, right? Arjuna has famously said, right, I am focusing on the I, right? And that's how I will hit the I. But in this case, you are focusing on the certification. I would say that's not the right way. Are you focusing on the class today? Are you learning what is supposed to be learned today? And I think certificate should be the outcome, should be one of the outcomes to it. Or one of the many ways where a learner could be rewarded. So that's how I think. That's how I and we think at Able Jobs about certifications. And hopefully we will try to build. Obviously, this route is a tough route, right? Because as humans we want to be rewarded. And I think I share this internally with my team as well. There are a couple of products, right? If you look at tech in general, right? The purpose of tech is either to save your time, either save your money, or give you entertainment. I think all of the tech companies, tech products, you can classify into three. Fitness and education are two beautiful industries, which doesn't save you time, doesn't save you money, and by no means doesn't give you entertainment. Right. And that is why it is so tough to build products in fitness and, in education industry. Right. Yeah. The core concept of tech might not really make sense here in general. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents on, why and how I look at certifications.
You have strong feelings.
Yes. And I think you should stop there.
But this is so true of, we've had some edtech founders talk to us, and the ecosystem, as you said, is obviously hot, and there's so many angles in which people are trying to solve for various things. So you're not alone, I would say. A lot of people consider the current system of education to be flawed for whatever reasons. And one of them is definitely the whole marks and certification angle around this, which actually begs me to ask, you are not only tackling a you're not only helping your customers or your users to sort of learn a skill which is hard to teach, or less objective to teach. As you said, it's not like you can put up a quiz and ABCD is going to solve it. And you're saying I will avoid making it a stamp of approval. So how do you so it's really the job, that's what you're saying is the goal. So as long as the person learns and gets a job, I think you've sort of done it. So I'm curious to understand how you yourself measure KPIs and metrics of how someone is doing at each stage. Is that where you're sort of building your core IP or your core intelligence of your platform in any way?
Yes, I think you captured very well. Again, by no means it's not that we don't want to measure. It's just that certificate might not be the right unit of measurement. So yeah. I think we are all up for measurement, even while building able jobs as well. We try to understand when a user enrolls into the course, where they are standing, and when they graduate out of the course, how much delta that we have created. And is that delta enough to really get them a job, or really get them what they are looking for? And then, as you said, right, we have created different kinds of things internally as well. So we have our own communication chart, our own sales chart, our own HR scores chart, where we have basically developed all of this in-house, where we say that, hey, this is, for example, out of 25, this is what the communication score looks like. This is what the sales scores look like. And this is how we need to take it forward, right? If it's, let's say, X by 25, how we can take it to X plus 5 by 25, and so on. So, yep, I think until and unless you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So all of our measurement, we do it every day. And we just figure out, how we can make our courses better based on those measurements.
Brilliant. Ravish, what is the next step for you? What is of course, given that you touched upon a few things of the kind of people you are catering to and the kind of jobs they're getting, B2B sales and B2B SaaS, of course, again, the industry, very, very popular space right now. What is the future for you guys? Where are you thinking you'll go with this? Or whatever horizon you are, forecasting so far.
Sure. So I think that question does have a lot of threads to it. I will try to answer it as short as I can. So I think obviously we as Able Jobs are on a mission to eradicate unemployment. We feel that there should be no unemployment, right? If a person wants to get a job, the person should be able to get a job. And at Able Jobs, we are there to create a platform where if they want something, they should get it. As simple as that. So that's how we see it on a very broader level. If you look onto the slight nuance part to it. So today we are doing only a couple of roles that I mentioned about. Tomorrow, I think we can do a lot more roles, right? There are a lot more roles, let's say around pharma industry, right? Today, this country needs a lot of nurses. This country needs a lot of medical representatives and whatnot, right? So that can be taught through this platform. There are various other roles, maybe a receptionist, a back office executive, or maybe an accountant and whatnot. So those are where more roles can come onto the platform, and we can continue to expand the platform on that side. Apart from that,
so just sorry to interrupt you. When I was looking through the thing, right, I thought it was really interesting that you have sales, you have operations, and then you have social media managers. Right. These are your three kind of things that are kind of this, right? So,
work from home. This is the work from home kit.
But I mean, like, how do sales and operations seem this, but then social media manager as like one of your three that seemed like this. How did that come about?
Sure. So I don't think sales and social media are different, right? So on that level, but if you look at, after all, it is more about it's more in the creative umbrella of jobs, right? Today with tools like Canva, I might not need to teach someone how to maybe draw how to make a poster, but if I could teach them how to create a good messaging,
Hmm.
how to understand your customers, which by the way I do it in sales as well,
Right.
right? That's what can make someone a good social media manager as well. Obviously, I will couple we will give them the all the ideas of hashtags and everything that is required to get started. But we broadly see that those are the same kind of those are mostly the same kind of jobs.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the earlier question you're asking, Shiladitya.
No, I think that's good. So yeah, the first point I said that there are a lot of roles that are out there which have no formal path today, and I think as able jobs we want to create a formal path to getting those jobs and those roles. Imagine tomorrow there will be drone inspectors who will while the
Oh,
tech platforms of the world will create drone engineers and all of that. Who will create drone inspectors, right? You need inspectors to monitor drone fleet and everything. So I think that's where the jobs that's where the new jobs will come in, and that's where you will need a learning platform to make people get those skills. The second thing is on the nuance part is creating tools for helping people in learning. uh,
hmm.
Education, edtech has been more about video content, right? It's in one way or another. It's primarily been video
Yeah.
content, right? I think that's the second thing that we at Able Jobs want to do. We want to take it much deeper than a video content, right? It's just not that you end up opening, you end up watching a video, and you can watch videos like this as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And you can watch Netflix also that ways, right? So I don't think if you're watching Netflix and education videos that both that way, I am not
You
sure if
absorb the same. No.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think the second thing is more about creating those learning tools which can help people gain those skills and really take edtech beyond just hosting content on video. So we will
Interesting.
create tools where people can learn sales. We have already karaoke like feature on our app, where people can create a sales pitch. It plays like a karaoke. There's a camera as well. They can record it and they can see how well they have done. So those are the kind of tools that we
Nice.
want to create in a deeper fashion, so that we can take people closer to the skills that they want to acquire.
Nice. Lovely. And okay, perfect. So, what are you hiring for next? Given that this is a unique sort of company you're building, which is tech plus obviously a lot of creative sort of input, and of course domain knowledge for all these various industries that you're catering to. Are you guys hiring? Do you want to do a shout out to anyone listening on this podcast about
Yes,
what
yes.
should be inspired with?
Yes, definitely. I have a plethora of positions open. So we as I said, we are building all of this content in house. So we hire instructional designers. Now that's a very kind of, I would say, a niche field. With as you see a lot more edtech companies coming in, you will see instructional design as a field taking becoming more mainstream. So we are hiring instructional designers. We are hiring product managers who can really think deeply, understand what it takes to make people learn a certain skill and build that whole array of products that are required to get people closer to the job. We're hiring a lot of content folks, a lot of business leaders who can again make sure that we are delivering this, all the promises are being delivered end to end. So yep, people can shoot me up at ravish@ablejobs.co. I am shamelessly plugging in here, so I'm really sorry.
Please go
but
ahead. Go ahead.
but yes, people can write me at ravish@ablejobs.co and would love to get on a call.
Awesome, great. Also, just a quick
Lovely.
reminder to everybody, please do a review or a rating wherever you're listening to this. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please give us a rating or review over there. If you are anywhere else, that rating and review also helps. Yeah, please do that.
Awesome. Ravish, thank you so much. This was an inspiring chat. Of course, like I said, the kind of people you are training are definitely the kind of people I talk to or hire myself. So very, very interesting to know that there is now ways to, upskill these very, very unique new talents that the world needs. And of course, all the best on the journey. Thank you so much for the conversation, and take care. Stay safe, of course, in Bangalore, and of course, everyone listening wherever you are.
Thank you so much, Shiladitya. Thank you, Amit. Thank you for hosting me.